You ever buy a place thinking it's going to be your quiet corner of the world? Then it turns out to be ground zero for a battle you never asked for. Yeah, that was me. I picked up this old cabin on an acre tucked away in the pines, thinking it'd be my slice of peace, where the only rules came from the weather and a little common sense. I wasn't looking for neighbors, drama, or HOA politics, just quiet mornings, maybe a project or two, and the freedom to park my truck wherever the heck I wanted. But you know how trouble finds you, right when you're least interested. The very first weekend I pulled up with my work truck, a battered gear-heavy thing that's practically my mobile office. I hear the grind of tiny wheels coming up the gravel. It's a golf cart barreling toward me with the determination of a chihuahua on espresso. At the wheel, Brenda, HOA president, queen of Crestview Estates, armed with a sun visor and a voice that could etch glass. She doesn't even get out, just points at my truck with a manicured finger and belts out. You can't park that here. Commercial vehicles aren't allowed Section 7, Paragraph C. Move it or get towed. Right away, I realized this isn't a neighborly howdy, this is a declaration of war. Now I'm a land surveyor by trade. Boundaries are kind of my thing. So I tell her, polite as I can, Brenda, this is my land, not part of Crestview Estates. She laughs like I just told her the moon's made of cheese. Oh, honey, if you can see the road, you're part of my kingdom, she says, waving her rules like gospel. Move it or you'll be fined, end of story. You ever meet someone who's so sure of themselves, so sure they're right, you almost start doubting reality? Well, that's Brenda. Problem is I live and breathe property lines. She picked the wrong guy to boss around about boundaries. I tried being nice. Showed her the county GIS map right there on my phone, big thick outline around my parcel. Nothing to do with her pink HOA parcels. See Lot 7A, never annexed. I'm not in your club, I say. She doesn't even look. That's just the internet. Here it's my rules, she snaps. I show her my deed, county stamped legal as daylight. She literally scoffs. Paperwork lawyers can make anything up. Rules are rules. Then she zips off in a cloud of dust, leaving me holding my coffee in my jaw. 2 days later, boom, official envelope in my mailbox. HOA letterhead plash $100 fine for commercial vehicle. And below in angry red ink, this is your only warning. Pay up. So now we're not just playing pretend, she's putting it in writing. That's when I stopped being annoyed and got real focused, you know. She'd drawn a line in the sand and it was time to see how deep it ran. The very next day, another violation notice, this time for a wooden owl my niece carved. $50 for unauthorized lawn ornamentation. Brenda wasn't looking for order, she was hunting for control, sniffing out any little thing to remind me who she thought was boss. Fine. If she wanted to talk boundaries, we'd talk boundaries. Monday morning, I put on my surveyor's hat, figuratively and literally. Dug through the County Hall of Records like a detective on a cold case. I didn't just pull my property file, I wanted the whole history, every plat, every bylaw, every scrap of paper that made Brenda's kingdom what it was. And that's where I found it, not a smoking gun, a gaping sinkhole right under the HOA's throne. Turns out the common areas, the main road, the park, the playground had never been legally transferred from the original developer to the HOA. That's right, for 15 years they'd been maintaining, insuring, and bossing people around on land they didn't even own. Their whole regime was built on the assumption that nobody would ever check. Suddenly, my truck was just the tip of the iceberg. This wasn't a property dispute anymore. This was an empire built on sand. The more I dug, the more ridiculous it got. They'd been collecting dues and doling out fines on land that legally belonged to nobody, enforcing rules where they had no authority. So I made a plan, a three-step play. First, I got all my own documents, certified ironclad proof that my land was outside their reach. Next, I assembled a mountain of evidence about their common areas, maps, deeds, transfer records, the whole paper trail. And third, I picked my battlefield. I wasn't going to waste energy arguing with Brenda in her driveway. I was going to let her build the stage for her own undoing. That's when I started poking the bear a little. Parked my truck at a jaunty angle, installed a little solar fountain beside the owl. You could almost hear her shriek from across the neighborhood. More violation notices, more threats, this time promising a lien on my property if I didn't cough up hundreds in fines. Perfect. That's the kind of escalation you can't take back. The annual HOA meeting was coming up, Brenda's main event. In her newsletter, she basically invited everyone to come watch her publicly roast the non-compliant troublemaker on Mountain Spur Road. Little did she know she was setting the table for her own public takedown. I spent days prepping laminating maps, building binders, highlighting contradictions. I even made a couple giant overlays, one showing the real property lines, another with the HOA's fantasy boundaries. All I needed now was an audience. But the best weapon: a neighbor named George, retired engineer, green thumb, long history with Brenda's rulebook. She fined me for my mailbox color. He told me snipping roses. We swapped stories. He promised to show up at the meeting, and I had a feeling others would follow if they just saw a little daylight. Then a week before the meeting, Brenda decides to go nuclear, calls the sheriff on me. I'm sipping tea on the porch, see the squad car inch up the drive, Brenda trailing behind like a gloating schoolyard tattletale. The deputy gets out professional cool. Brenda launches in. He's trespassing, parking commercial vehicles, ruining our values. Mode. I invite the deputy inside, show him the GIS map, the deed, everything. He studies it all, nods, and walks outside. Ma'am, his property isn't in your HOA. He's parked legally. There's no crime here. Brenda's face just drains. She can't process it. But our rules? The deputy tips his hat and leaves. Brenda mutters, "This isn't over," but you could tell her armor was cracking. Finally, the big night. HOA clubhouse packed with neighbors. George in the front row, Brenda front and center with her board gavel in hand. She spends an hour droning on about budgets and flower beds, dropping hints about a serious enforcement matter. When she calls my name, the whole room turns to look at me. You could cut the tension with a knife. She lays out her case, multiple violations, over $500 in fines, threat of a lien. "Anything to say before we move forward?" she asks, certain I'm about to beg for mercy. Instead, I nod. "Actually, I do. Mind if I use the easel?" The room perks up. I unroll the big laminated plat map, slap it up on the board. "I'm a surveyor," I say. "This is the certified map for Crest View Estates. My property parcel 7A is not and never has been part of the HOA. I trace the boundary in red. No jurisdiction, no authority, no fines. Attempting a lien would be fraud." A ripple goes through the crowd. Brenda's mouth opens and closes, no sound. "That's fake," she manages. I calmly show the county certification, then pull out the second map, overlaying the real boundaries with the HOA's supposed domain. "You see all that red? That's the land the HOA claims but never legally acquired. You've all been paying fees, getting fined for property the board doesn't even own." The room erupts. People demanding answers, questioning where their money's gone, who actually owns the park, why they've been threatened over parking. George stands up, voice trembling but firm, and calls for a vote of no confidence. Within minutes, Brenda's presidency is finished. She gathers her papers and storms out, her empire gone. A new board is elected, George reluctantly in charge. They hire a real estate lawyer, confirm everything I presented, and pivot. They transfer maintenance to the county/dues, and finally start acting like a community instead of a fiefdom. My fines vanish, and the neighbors who used to scowl now wave when I pass. I even have a standing invite to George's porch for a cold beer. Looking back, I realize I bought this cabin to escape my job's legal lines, only to win peace by wielding those same skills. Real freedom, I learned, isn't just the absence of conflict. It's knowing where the boundaries are and standing up when someone tries to move them. So here's my question for you. What's a skill you've got from your job or just life that could tip the scales when you least expect it? Sometimes the quietest folks turn out to be the most powerful when the map is finally unrolled. Let me know your take. Was I right? Was I wrong? Or does every mountain need someone to redraw the lines?